see like big waves from him in the future. And they stared at him. After the real business is starting. Oh, and that's where the first time. Real minute, 8 seconds in, my boy. Fatality is not messing around. Jostle maybe is not doing. Maybe Jostle will. He's getting the lines. There we go. Yeah, you think maybe this is not Jostle's time yet? Oh, no. This might be it. Okay, a little too aggressive. Hey, worked out. Oh, this is big damage. Yeah. Oh, that is. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't do the strong one. I thought the strong one might have killed there. So connect first, so. Oh, yes. It's only sure, but yeah, Tom's not right. We go downhill into upbeat. Very good class of that. Really good. Yeah, definitely Johnson playing that microspacing game, and Fatality just saying, you're going to microspace? Well, I got a big side beat for you. And that's what damage. Big damage. Super deep. Oh, this might be big. Look at the reset. Yeah. Stage. You know, something really good that Johnson's doing is that he's following Fatality's SDI. Like, yeah. Oh no, but SDI, he can SDI with that SD. Oh, Vision putting that on the outfit that's what he wanted. Who's that girl standing? Oh, wow, that is interesting to start. Yeah. Alright, is it? Oh, this is the reset. Yeah, is that the reset? Waiting for it. Ooh, this is scary. So much respect. Wow. Johnson right going for the reversal. And he thinks he's interesting. Okay, end of view. But it's not good enough to see. I think it looks suck. I think ADS is an extra trial. You're only kidding. No, bitch. ADS.
Is that blood? No, never mind. I'd love to, thanks. What's that? Looking ahead.
Is something crying?
Prime spot for an ambush.
I'm going to enjoy this.
Survival is all that matters.
Don't get too close.
My faith will protect me. Heading there.
Jimmy on the go.
Still on my feet.
must heal.
I'm ready.
Never a dull moment.
I need your help.
What should I do?
Time to push my luck again. easy these days.
Ready.
Nothing important is ever easy. With a flick of the wrist.
Let's put it right there in the sun. I was in the middle of organizing on this still. No.
Fate, dost thou require a new ally? As thou desire.
Okay. I was tripping.
Ability score selection, there's actually two different ways that we can set up our ability scores. This character is a great candidate for Ethel's Hair. You benefit a lot from the +1 to an attribute to boost your wisdom up from 17 to 18, so that we can hit 20 wisdom in only a single feat selection. This character benefits from that a ton because we're only going to get 2 feats, and one of them is always going to be Tavern Brawler to make our attacks better. So having Ethel's Hair lets us maximize our wisdom as opposed to increase the save DC of our special wild shape attacks, the save DC of our Swarmkeeper Ranger abilities, because this build synergizes in that way as well, and of course the save DC of our spells whenever we're not in wild shape. So it's really good to get that extra wisdom, and Ethel's Hair lets us do that. That said, if there's another character in your party that needs it more, this character can definitely get away without it. 18 wisdom is totally fine for this build, so if there's another build that is sort of centered around using Ethel's Hair, then I would recommend giving it to a different character other than this one. But if you don't have another build that requires it, this build can make excellent use of it. If we are using Ethel's Hair, we're going to use the greediest possible attribute split, taking 16 in Dexterity, 15 in Constitution, and 17 in Wisdom, and then we'll even out these odd numbers with Ethel's Hair and our feat selection. And if we don't have it, then we can just drop Wisdom down to 16 for this character, and then we'll end up with 3 16s for Tavern Brawler. make our intelligence saving throws a little bit better. Intelligence saves against the blind players is one of the very few weaknesses of this character, so there is some benefit to this as well. Or playing a note to give yourself advantage on those saves. So either way, you will have an excellent character. For this build, I'm going to demonstrate, assuming that we're using Ethel's Hair to boost our wisdom to up to the maximum, but either way is going to be excellent. For our skill selection, what you select here mostly doesn't matter, except that, of course, because you're a wisdom-based character, you should grab perception. Every party wants as many characters with perception as high as possible, unless you've memorized exactly where every trap in the game is. It just makes things so much easier, so finding all of these is going to be much better, and druids are excellent at perception checks, so you should take this. You're not going to be doing a lot of dialogue, so where you put your other point mostly doesn't matter, but you can stick it in religion for late game rolls, or medicine for early game rolls. Either way, as long as you've got perception from your skill selection, you'll be good. Other than that, no decisions to make at level 1, so move on to level 2. Character level 2, to continue Druid, and because we are going to be a wild shape focused build, the subclass that we are going to take is Circle. While there is a little bit of conflict by changing our wild shape to a bonus action, it's still going to be significantly better for us because most of our wild shape forms we want to use our action to attack with. So being able to bonus action wild shape and then attack at the same turn, trigger our Swarmkeeper abilities to blind or knock down an enemy all in the same turn is always going to be really strong. So Circle of the Moon Druid just gives us a lot of great options for our combat forms. We could also use any of the other druids if there's a particular druid that you have in mind for this character. It certainly will not ruin the character to take a different druid circle, but Circle of the Moon is overall going to be the strongest. In general, in the early game, your best wild shape form is going to be Spider form. Spider form has high AC, decent hit points, a good attack that poisons enemies, and can entangle them, so you get free crowd control right from the beginning of the game. All of the different wild shape forms have excellent uses, but Spider form is sort of the most generally applicable, so when in doubt, turn into a spider. For our prepared spells, we are going to want to have Healing Word and Longstrider. Longstrider, of course, we can buff ourselves with, and it lasts all day. It will continue after you're in wild shape, so your wild shape will be moving faster. We also want a concentration spell like Entangle, because you can cast this and then wild shape at the start of combat and maintain concentration on the Entangle, keeping enemies trapped. And it with these give you powerful Moonbeam and Spike Growth spells, making us much stronger. Hold Person is also very good to cast before entering. Hold Person and Flaming Spear are also both very good to cast before entering Wild Shape. So all of those give you excellent options. And leveling in Druid is going to increase the hit points of your Wild Shape forms, which get extra hit points every 2 Druid levels, which is very important because you do want to have enough durability on those that they can take a couple hits. They tend to have low AC, so you will probably take some HP damage on your wild shape forms, and you want to be able to survive that so that you can retaliate with the crushing paws of a giant bear rather than the noodly arms of a humanoid. For our prepared spells at this level, we can add in some other combat spells. I'm going to remove Entangle because we're very likely to be concentrating on Spike Growth if we're concentrating on a concentration spell and you're not in wild shape. And if we get the first big buff that this character has gotten in patch 8, when we get to significant bonus to their hit chance and their damage whenever they're using a more strength-based wild shape form, like for example the Deep Rothe. Tavern Brawler used to, in Honor Mode, only give you twice your strength to attack rolls, but not to damage while in wild shape. But in patch 8, this has actually been changed, and so now Tavern Brawler applies the full bonus no matter what difficulty setting you're on. That means even in Honor Mode for a Druid, you're going to 6 to hit, so you're just going to hit all of your attacks, and doubling your strength bonus to damage, so all of those attacks are going to hit incredibly hard. That's why we took the odd number in Constitution, so we can take Tavern Brawler and then even this out at 16 Constitution, so we have 16, 16, 17, or if at this point we've gotten Ethel's Hair, 18 Wisdom, meaning that our character has even more. Now this plus
+1 from Constitution. There was a time very early on in development, where this +1 from Tavern Brawler would carry over into your wild shape form, and you'd actually get the extra Constitution in wild shape, or the extra strength if you put it in strength. That's no longer true, but the additional damage that you get in Honor Mode from Tavern Brawler, I mean, we all know how incredibly broken this speed is. Druids are probably the character that uses it in the least abusive way compared to throwers or mugs. But still, doubling your strength bonus to hit and to damage is so incredibly strong, especially when your strength bonus is so high, because all of the wild shape forms increase your strength. The way that wild shaping works, of course, is that it's going to replace your physical stats, strength, dex, and con, with the physical stats of the wild shape form. So we just need high mental stats. You still want these stats to be pretty high, though you could take 12 intelligence and 14 constitution, for example. But you still want these stats pretty high for when you're not in wild shape, and to keep your initiative and hit points high so that your character can act not in wild shape, because casting spells is still an important character's potential. Speaking of casting spells, of course, we get another cantrip, and the cantrip that we're going to take is going to be Thorn Whip. Thorn Whip gives you a lot of tactical options for when you're not in wild shape form. Putting down a spike growth and then pulling an enemy across it with Thorn Whip is really good damage. And the ability to reposition enemies is always powerful, even though this is only 30 feet. There's plenty of fights where there's an archer up on the high ground. You're level 5, extra attack, so we really want to hit Druid level 5 to get access to this, so that we can attack twice in a single action. Because, of course, with our Tavern Brawler hits, we're getting really, really hard, so Wild Strike doubles up on that and just makes our attacks hit even harder. Prepared spells give us another pile of really good options here. I'm going to recommend taking Plant Growth and Sleet Storm. Plant Growth is not concentration, so you can use this and concentrate on another spell, and it will quarter enemy movement speed. Usually you're going to be using Spike Growth over Plant Growth, but there's plenty of times where there are melee enemies who aren't easily able to jump out of the Plant Growth effect. You can combine this with Hunger of Cathar in addition as well, in order to just win fights if you have a Warlock in your party. And quartering enemy movement speed is absolutely busted, because they just will take 20 turns to get to you, which gives you plenty of time to blink them down from range. So any fight where you don't want to get up close and personal, with Fang and Claw, you can still play as a very powerful ranged caster, because you're still a druid, you're still a full caster. Sleet Storm just wins fights by itself by making enemies fall prone, and it's just a very powerful effect. Any enemy that gets out of it without falling over is going to meet the paws of an angry bear on the outside, or I guess the fangs of an angry spider or the horns of an angry Rothe is more likely, but you can use your wild shape forms to kind of herd enemies into the Sleet Storm, where they will then be obliterated by the constant free crowd control of slipping and falling on ice. Now, up until this point, this looks like a pretty standard druid build. Of course, we get the new full damage bonus on Honor Mode with Tavern Brawler, but other than that, we're pretty much just building a Moon Druid. But this is where the build is going to deviate from that course by taking, instead of our 6th Druid level, a level of Ranger. You could take the 6th Druid level to get Owlbear form if you want to be an Owlbear as soon as possible, but level 5 Druid gives you extra attack or Wild Strike, and so is the normal breakpoint for swapping out to take levels of Ranger to get yourself even stronger. Levels of Ranger give us a bunch of great things. Firstly, we get a favored enemy. You can take a Ranger Knight here. Heavy armor proficiency is actually pretty useful for this character. Staying in heavy armor when you're not in wild shape form gives you a lot of options for even more defensive abilities. None of these other options really do anything, so you can kind of take them for flavor. But Ranger Knight is going to be the one that probably has the most applicable options. Also lets you use the Grimskull Helm, because Hunter's Mark is actually pretty relevant for Sword King. The really important one, though, is that Natural Explorer, these abilities and resistances do carry over into Wild Shape. Wild Shape forms can sometimes suffer when it comes to AoE damage, and often have slightly lower HP. So taking this level of Ranger, while it's not giving us that much for our Wild Shape forms yet, is still increasing our defensive capabilities significantly, because we can take Wasteland Wanderer for fire, and fire, as the most common damage type, is one of the ways where we're going to get speed resistance on that makes our second hit point bar even better. Ranger also gives us more just base hit points, so this character just ends up extremely tanky as a result of taking these Ranger levels as well. What ability scores we take here mostly don't matter, but stealth is probably the most relevant of them. We get martial weapon proficiency and have decent dexterity, so this character can sit at range with hand crossbows if that's something that you want to do. Also, level 7, we're going to take our second Ranger level, because of course we want to get our Ranger subclass as soon as possible. For spell selection here, we're going to take Hunter's Mark. A lot of these we already have prepared from our Druid levels, but you can get Hunter's Mark. You can take Ensnaring Strike or Hail of Thorns if you want to. They're not going to be that impressive most of the time, but Ensnaring Strike might come up if you're using a pair of hand crossbows, so you can grab that, or just grab whatever ability you just want to always have, like Long Strider, for example, and then you can prepare a different spell for your Druid levels. But this just gives you a little bit more option. For our fighting style here, you can just take archery style. This character, like I said, a secondary sub-theme for you when you're not in wild shape form can be a pair of hand crossbows and just doing damage at range with that. If that's your plan, archery is usually going to be better than two-weapon fighting because the hit chance bonus is typically going to be better than the +3 damage bonus from your dexterity, but usually the best choice for fighting style is going to be defense fighting style. While this +1 AC does not apply during your wild shape forms, it's still incredibly useful for when you're not in wild shape, or if you get knocked out of wild shape in that way, having the extra AC just makes you that much more survivable. Then, at character level 8, we get to take our third level of Ranger and turn on our Storm abilities. These give us a tremendous amount of optionality and utility every turn of combat, because by taking Stormkeeper Ranger, we get to pick one of 3 storms. We will have an effect that we can trigger every single time per turn, and whenever we can. These swarms, you set them when you level up in Stormkeeper Ranger, which one you're using, and the effect is one of the very few ways to actually improve the capabilities of your character while you're wild shape. If you choose these, then you can deal additional piercing damage, push the enemy, or do a short range teleport. Jellyfish can do lightning damage, shock the enemy, preventing reactions, and Moss can do psychic damage and blinding, and all of them will teleport. Typically, the damage is not going to be the most important aspect of these. By level 8, the extra d6 of damage once per turn, or 2d6 if you Hunter's Mark that enemy, is not going to be significant in most cases. But the blind, shock, or knockback are all really good, and the teleport is incredibly good. These is probably the least powerful of the Stormkeeper Ranger swarms normally, but for a Druid it's much more interesting, because you have access to spike growth, and they can melee knock back an enemy onto the spike growth using Legion of Bees. Jellyfish can work with Druid's natural lightning synergy. You have Call Lightning as a spell known. You have lots of effects that care about getting wet, so you can do lightning focused damage. And Moss is just generally speaking the strongest. I'm going to suggest taking Moss here because blinding an enemy every turn. This is 2 Tavern Brawler attacks and a free blind every turn. And, importantly, the save DC of these abilities is your Wisdom, because they're a Ranger ability, so they're based on your Ranger's save DC stat, which is Wisdom. And because we're a Druid, we're maximizing our Wisdom. So, unlike a normal Stormkeeper Ranger, where the save DC will be pretty low on these abilities, for the hybrid character here, the Swarmkeeper Wild Shaping character, you will have very high DCs on your blinds, and enemies will be blinded pretty much every turn. This gives you a tremendous amount of mobility. Your wild shape forms have a lot of mobility options already, and then you can also teleport after attacking once per turn. Or you can blind an enemy, or if you just need a little bit of damage to finish them off, then you have that option as well. So this gives you a tremendous amount of optionality in combat. Blinding an enemy every turn while also clawing them as a bear is just a very powerful default combat action, and it works all the time, no resting required or anything like that. So Moths plus bears is a really great combination. We just take whatever spell here. It doesn't really matter what you take. You can take any spell that you think you're going to cast. At this point, you should have some idea of what you're going to be using, but the main thing is that we have access to Moth's Swarm now.
Can't afford to stay idle.
On every 10. At character level 9, we're going to be taking our 6th level Druid, because this will give us access to Owlbear form, which is a significant upgrade to our combat form. Now that our Stormkeeper abilities are online, we definitely want to have the most powerful wild shape, and the Owlbear form also gives us another great option. We can, it lets us use Tavern Brawler even better, because we can have 22 strength by raging in the Owlbear form, which natively has 20 strength, and then gains 2 more when it rages. And with the Crushing Flight action from Owlbear, you get a tremendous jump distance, which can then be combined with your teleport from Ranger to give yourself even more mobility. So this character just gets a tremendous amount of mobility while outputting ridiculous damage and free crowd control every turn, and that's not even counting any of the spellcasting that we can do if we're not in Owlbear form. So just hitting level 6 Druid is going to be really good. Getting Primal Strike as well is nice. There's definitely some enemies that are resistant or immune to non-magical damage, and this has been fixed in patch 8 to require you to get level 6, to require you to actually have this ability for your attacks in wild shape to count as magical. So we do want Primal Strike early in order to overcome enemy resistances. At level 10, we're going to take 4th level of Ranger to allow ourselves to take advantage of another major change that we made in patch 8, although not entirely sure this one was intentional, more on that in a second. And also, of course, to get our second feat, because we want to increase our ability scores. The feat that we're going to take is going to be an ability improvement for Wisdom. This will not only make our spellcasting better, but also improve the save DCs of all of the Swarmkeeper Ranger abilities. At this point, we should have 20 Wisdom with this version of the build.
What
We'll
now?
put Emerald's Hair in to even out our Wisdom to get it up to 20. But if you are absolutely sure that you don't care about the save DC, you're mostly going to use the teleport for Swarmkeeper, and aren't going to cast that many spells. There are a couple other feats that are worth considering here. Alert is very good because, of course, it's always incredible in Honor mode. This character can struggle with initiative if you only have 16 dexterity, so that is definitely an option. And Mage Slayer is also a pretty fun option for this character. The effects of this feat do mostly work in wild shape form. The advantage on saving throws against spells, for example, it does work in wild shape form, and one of the very few weaknesses of this build is your low intelligence saving throws. That can be a problem against some late game enemies that have saving throw targeting abilities. Now those abilities aren't technically spells, but the game treats them as spells, so Mage Slayer still works against most of them. So that's a great option as well if you're worried about shoring up that weakness. But in general, the best option is just going to be to take an ASI to boost your Wisdom. Then, at level 11, we're going to take a 5th level of Ranger. Now this might seem a little bit odd, but there was a pretty significant change to Honor Mode in patch 8, which is that extra attack from martial characters now fully stacks with Wild Strike when you're in wild shape form. Including Honor Mode. It always stacked on lower difficulties in Tactician and below, but now on Honor Mode it stacks. I'm not entirely sure that this was an intentional change, but we will have to see if it remains in the game, because if it does, then getting a 3rd attack is going to be incredibly powerful. If it doesn't remain in the game, you can just keep leveling in Druid, and you won't need the 5th level of Ranger, though it's certainly not bad to have the 5th level of Ranger either, but as long as that changes in the game, Ranger level 5 is going to be an incredible bonus to your damage. Getting a 3rd attack on every action is a ridiculous amount of damage, especially when they're all doing the full damage bonus of Tavern Brawler, and have all of the powerful wild shape capabilities at your disposal available. So extra attack is just the best possible thing that we can get. You also get some level 2 Ranger spells, so you can pick up a more powerful Ranger spell. Something like Silence is pretty good to have access to. This is another concentration spell that can really ruin a couple enemies' days. There's a lot of enemies that will just lose if you can keep them trapped in a silence effect, and you have a lot of knockback effects, especially if you are B's Swarmkeeper Ranger. You're usually not going to have that option, but that is a great option to combine with silence. So a lot of really interesting ways that you can combine those things, depending on exactly what you want to emphasize for your build. And finally, at character level 12, we're going to be taking our 7th level of Druid, which gets us the very powerful 4th level Druid spell. Now remember that Ranger's a half-caster, so we actually have 9 spellcasting levels, giving us 5th level spell slots. So we can upcast any of these spells to higher levels if we want the higher level effects of them. In particular, Wall of Fire and Ice Storm get increased damage when we upcast them, but mostly we're just grabbing these because the level 4 Druid spells are going to be excellent, and we now have access to those level 4 Druid spells. For prepared spells at this level, we're going to add in a bunch of those awesome options. Conjure Woodland being even this late is still going to be an incredible boost to your party all day. Even at level 12, this is one of the most efficient and best summon spells in the game, and just makes your whole strategy wildly better. Especially, it will allow you to move freely through difficult terrain, which you're creating a lot of, because the summon has that aura. So this will give you that option to
At least things have stayed
play
interesting.
in your own spike growth and stuff like that. We also get Ice Storm, which is a non-concentration ability. If you're facing a lot of enemies, you can use Ice Storm for a bunch of damage. Wall of Fire just wins some encounters by themselves. Even very late game encounters can be won by Wall of Fire, because if anytime enemies are just funneling through a narrow corridor towards you, Wall of Fire will do ridiculous amounts of damage, and Confusion is probably now the best control spell to cast before entering Wild Shape, because you can take a whole out of the fight using Confusion. So for your final, it redid, of course, all of my prepared spells here, so let's go ahead and just put together a reasonably prepared spell list. You're going to have Longstrider, Enhanced Sleep and Healing Word still from level 1, from level 2, pick up Hold Person and Spike Growth, from level 3, Sleet Storm and Plant Growth, and from level 4, Conjure Woodland being Confusion, Wall of Fire, Ice Storm for various scenarios. You can also take Freedom of Movement as a panic button if there's one of these spells that doesn't appeal to you. Don't cast this at the beginning of the day, but if your character gets stunned, Freedom of Movement breaks them out of that stun, which can really save your bacon if in an emergency. Alright, that is the full build. 3 Tavern Brawler attacks and a free blind every turn while providing incredible spell casting. But, of course, we can make this character even better with items, though it's much less item dependent than most builds, so let's talk about those 4 items for this character. One of the awesome things about this character, of course, is that as a Wild Shape character, you have pretty much no specific item requirements. There's almost no items in the game that work while you're in Wild Shape. So you gain the benefit of being able to fit into any party, no matter their gear requirements, and not conflict with any other party members. You will always be able to just equip this character in whatever your second best gear is, and they will do just fine because they don't need any specific items to be almost as powerful as they possibly can be. However, there's a couple items that we can use to make ourselves even stronger. One of them works while in Wild Shape, and of course the primary thing is to look for any items that will function while in Wild Shape, and that is the Armor of Moonbasking. Armor of Moonbasking gives you a +2 bonus to your AC and advantage on saving throws against spells, and works while you're in Wild Shape. The main downside of this character is that you have low intelligence saves, though you're very good at wisdom saves, and you have low armor class because you are a Wild Shape focused character, and the Wild Shape forms typically have very little AC, so the Armor of Moonbasking just solves both of those problems. It also gives you temp HP, which can be very useful if you get knocked out of Wild Shape. You can, and damage reduction. So, as an item that's intended for Wild Shape characters, this is the #1 item. Luckily, no other character will want this, because it only works if you're Wild Shaping, so this item is perfect for this character because it's ideal for you and nobody else needs it. An alternative option for armor is the Dwarven Splintmail. We have heavy armor proficiency, and this is just a great set of armor for a caster, giving you even better constitution saves, as well as damage reduction and very good armor class while not in your Wild Shape form. So this is a great option for just sort of generally wandering around before you get
adorn these intricate panels.
You have shield proficiency as well, so an item like the Sentinel Shield that increases your initiative can be incredibly powerful. This character does want initiative increases. They won't work
notable
while you're in Wild Shape
monasteries of this size were usually
your items
overseen
are
by
disabled,
dawn
but
masters,
a lot of fights you're
esteemed
starting
members
in
of the clergy.
the spell.
The reconsecration of the monastery, conducted by Dawnmaster Seed.
Evensong before the Zenith Day, celebrated by Dawnmaster Vassaid wielding... The rest of the inscription and picture has shattered away. Dawnmaster Welkin Glory beckons forth the rising...
All right, what now?
What's up?
Yes? I don't think this is strictly legal.
Shouldn't have wished to live in interesting times.
Wanna dance? Guardian of Faith spell. Must have been real faith to have lasted this long.
What's next?
What's that?
Let's march!
No rest for the wicked, I see.
No time to dally.
No time to rest.
My faith protects me.
Guess who's jealous of Adele? This is down to Beyonce. 2, 1, 2, 3, Elisa. I wish it.
She's got PTSD or whatever.
Must have been real faith to have lasted this long.
You have my attention.
That might be worth a look.
Can't give up now.
What a charmer.
A long way to go still.
Don't be shy.
I've got a long road ahead.
Keep them busy! The Thunder, forgive me. We have to fire the lance. to fire the lance.
Still alive. So that's progress. Might be worth a look. Never a dull moment.
Yeah, boy. I unlocked that fucking owlbeard, boy. $45 health points? 65? Shit.
mercy.
Rastil. Those standing in truth need not.
I hear even Silver Sword fall. Young ones. No. Kithrak Voss is a hero.
Hero? That could be confused for Istich sentimentality.
Let's explore.
Sentries to arms! Istik, state your purpose quickly. You are infected. A Ghaik thrall is something to eradicate, not reason with. It wouldn't be the strangest study she's done. Report to the infirmary at once. Step carefully, Istik. Krashielek watches you.
We have not been visited by an Inquisitor in an age. It is an honor.
I would be more concerned than excited. Ghaik spies. You should know better.
Forgive me. We have not been visited by an Inquisitor in an age.
What's
It
the
is an
story?
honor.
I would be more concerned than excited.
Any word on the search for the artifact, Rastil?
Words are food for Ghaik spies.
I heard they're making us join the patrol soon. The search must be going
I
bad.
respect these Gith. They don't fool around.
Oh, I'm more than aware, trust me. I've had plenty of training in what to expect from them.
In that case, lead on, miss.
Please, Chitrai, I can explain. The latest batch of cultists knew nothing of the Astral Prism. They were just trying to find Moonrise. They all head there. My Gish have drafted plans to assault the tower. They are ready to fight, Chitrai. We could sift the missing artifact from the tower's ashes if you would give us...
Quiet. Find the Astral Prism, Therazin. My patience falters.
Yes, Chitrai. You heard him! Go!
Do as she says. She remains your Kithrak. For now.
Shut those doors. This is not a public forum.
Anything but a wolf.
An Istik in my creche. You are one of the mercenaries sent to bring the weapon.
Don't tell her anything.
The Inquisitor? On what grounds? Information. If it's not about the weapon we seek, I don't care.
I told you, they will stop at nothing to reclaim it.
It is small, angular, metal, adorned with Tirsu script. Stolen by true soul heretics.
You sense Shadowheart's worry. This weapon sounds like the artifact you carry.
What was that look? You know something. Do you have it? And yet your face Shema Zalavlakith. Give it to me. No? Then I will...
Not another one.
Vibranium here!
My faith will protect me. Have to keep going. Time to deal some punishment.
Damn.
Can't slow down.
Damage, bro.
Heading out.
I'm ready. Your time has come.
No choice but to keep going. Just out of view.
Want another?
Can't afford to let up. On my way.
I won't give in.
Cool down. Where's the boss?
What's next, I wonder?
Excellent choice.
What's cooking?
At the ready.
Da, da, da.
Let's move.
Oh, I could go for a good meal.
There's no time to waste. Let's get on with it.
Salutations.
Who would be? Oh. Make haste. We have business to conduct.
And to think I couldn't imagine this place could get any more foreboding.
I'll breathe easier once we're gone from here.
I'm a bit afraid this Inquisitor won't want to say anything useful.
We should be so lucky.
out of my mind. And well, in it. Best get going.
Bro, Gale is so weak to attack. I'm literally getting heated quick. This nigga gets down every fucking battle, bro. It makes no sense, bro.
Breathing, despite everything.
Impressive resistance, but futile. Incendia via!
Heading there.
In Blackett's name!
that matters. I'll strike you down. Have to keep going. Swift as my feet can carry me. Very well. Keep going. With haste. It's a tomb there. step forward.